The great dragon floated in the darkness of space. Her name was Yuna, Empress of the Draconian Collective. Her long body was covered with millions of tiny barnacles that glowed blue and purple against her silver scales. These barnacles were not a sickness. They were helpful little creatures that lived on her body. They helped her use the energy from stars for food. To her people, these barnacles showed wisdom and age. They were beautiful marks of her power. But to everyone else in the galaxy, they were ugly. Yuna looked out through the clear walls of her giant ship. Stars stretched out in all directions. She had spent 3 years looking for a human partner. Humans were known to be clever and good allies, but no human would work with a dragon covered in barnacles. Her messengers always came back with the same answer: no. Maybe we should forget about working with Earth, said her advisor Do-hyun. His own body had fewer barnacles, showing he was younger than the Empress. No, Yuna said firmly. Her voice echoed in the crystal room of her ship. Our old stories are clear. We need humans to survive. We will find one who can see past how we look. Far away on Earth, in a city called New Seoul, a man named Junho sat at his desk. He held a letter that said he was not accepted into the Galactic Diplomatic Corps. The letter said he was too different and asked too many questions. They said he was not right for working with aliens. Junho crumpled the letter and threw it away. Just then his computer made a sound. A new message appeared. Last chance for Earth representative to the Draconian Collective. All other candidates have said no. There was a picture attached. It showed Empress Yuna in all her barnacle-covered glory. Most humans found her disgusting. Yunho found her amazing. 2 weeks later, Junho sat in a small ship heading toward the Draconian fleet. The human officials had given him a short talk before he left. Try not to stare, one said. Try not to throw up, said another. The last person only lasted 3 minutes before running away, a third added with a laugh. Junho ignored them. Instead, he spent the journey reading everything he could about Draconian culture. He learned that their barnacles weren't just living things, they were also technology. Each cluster of barnacles did different jobs, from talking to other Draconians to checking the air and temperature. The small ship docked with the massive Draconian flagship. It was bigger than any human ship ever built, stretching over 5 kilometers from end to end. The wall seemed to be made of some kind of living crystal that pulsed with light. Ready to meet the Empress? Asked the human pilot, clearly expecting Junho to back out. More than ready, Junho replied. The door opened with a hiss. Junho stepped through into a massive room. The ceiling was so high he could barely see it. The floor was smooth and slightly warm under his feet. And there, coiled in the center of the room, was Empress Yuna. She was enormous. Her serpent-like body was at least 60 meters long, with scales that shifted colors like oil on water. Every part of her was covered in clusters of barnacles that glowed and pulsed with inner light. Her head was the size of a small car, with eyes bigger than dinner plates. The humans who had come before had backed away. Some had screamed. One had fainted. Junho walked forward and bowed deeply. Empress Yuna, it is an honor to meet you. The glowing patterns of your barnacles are the most beautiful living art I have ever seen. The Empress's huge head tilted to one side. Her giant eyes blinked slowly. You are not disgusted by me? Her voice wasn't a sound in the air. It was like music playing directly in his mind, sent there by the barnacles on her body. Why would I be? Junho asked honestly. On Earth, we have coral reefs that work in a similar way. Many different creatures living together to make something greater. Your barnacles are like living galaxies on your skin. For the first time in many years, Empress Yuna felt something new. Hope. Over the next month, Junho learned more about the Draconians. They were an ancient race who had mastered space travel long before humans had even invented the wheel. Their barnacles were the key to their power. They allowed Draconians to speak mind to mind, to sense danger, and even to survive in the vacuum of space for short periods. Junho was given a room in the royal section of the ship. It was designed for a creature much larger than a human, but the Empress had ordered special furniture made for him. Each day he met with different Draconian officials to discuss trade, technology sharing, and possible alliance terms. But not all Draconians were happy about a human in their midst. The Empress spends too much time with the human, Junho overheard one official named Minho say to another. It is not natural. Perhaps she is lonely, replied the other, a female named Jia. No draconian male has approached her for mating in 50 cycles. Her barnacles are too numerous, too excessive. Junho pretended not to hear. But he was learning that even among draconians, the Empress was considered extreme. Most had barnacles, yes, but not covering their entire bodies as Yuna did. One evening, Junho was invited to dine with the Empress alone. This was a rare honor. The dining hall was vast, with a pool of glowing liquid for the Empress and a table set with earth foods for Junho. "You have been with us for 30 days now," Yuna said, her thoughts flowing into his mind, longer than any human before. "Why have you not asked to leave?" Hunyo considered his answer carefully. "Because I find your people fascinating, and because I think there is much humans and draconians could learn from each other. Most humans find us repulsive. Most humans fear what they don't understand," Junho replied. "I prefer to understand before I judge." The Empress moved closer, her massive head now just meters from where Junho sat. Her eyes studied him with an intensity that might have frightened another human. "There is something I must tell you," she said finally, "something no human knows. The real reason we seek an alliance with Earth." Junho set down his fork. "I'm listening. Our home star is dying," Yuna explained. "Not exploding, but changing. The radiation it gives off is shifting. Soon it will no longer provide the right energy for our barnacles." "And without the barnacles?" Hunyo asked, though he suspected the answer. "Without them we die. They are not just tools or decorations. They are part of us now. After millions of years of evolution together, we need a new home star with the right kind of light. Like Earth's sun," Junho said, understanding dawning. "Yes. Your sun is perfect, but we know humans would never agree to share their system with creatures they find disgusting." Junho frowned. "So you need someone to convince Earth that draconians aren't a threat or an eyesore, but potential allies." "Yes. But there is more." The Empress's barnacles pulsed with anxiety. "Not all of my people want peace. Some younger draconians, those with fewer barnacles, believe we should take Earth's sun by force." "That would mean war," Junho said. "A war neither of our species would survive," Yuna agreed. "That is why finding you has been so important. You see beyond appearances. You might help us find a peaceful solution." Before Junho could respond, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. The Empress's barnacles flashed red with alarm. "What's happening?" Hunyo asked, standing up. "Betrayal," Yuna said, her mental voice tight with anger. "The young ones have moved against me sooner than I expected." The massive doors to the dining hall burst open. A group of draconians entered, led by Minho. Unlike the Empress, his body had only a few scattered barnacle clusters. He carried a strange weapon that glowed with harsh light. "The time of barnacle worship is over, Empress," Minho declared. "We will take what we need from the humans, not beg for their acceptance." He raised the weapon, pointing it not at Junho, but at the Empress's largest barnacle cluster, the one near her head that controlled her connection to the collective consciousness of her people. Junho didn't think. He acted. He leaped from his chair and threw himself between the Empress and the weapon. "No!" Yuna's mental cry echoed in his mind as the weapon fired. A beam of concentrated radiation hit Junho square in the chest. It burned through his diplomatic uniform and into his skin. He fell to the floor, his vision already darkening. The last thing he saw was the Empress's massive form rising up in fury, her barnacles blazing like 1,000 suns as she moved to protect him. The last thing he felt was something small and cool attaching itself to his burning skin. A tiny barnacle, jumping from the Empress to him. Then darkness took him. Hunyo opened his eyes slowly. He was floating in a strange tank filled with warm blue liquid. His body felt different, lighter but somehow stronger. When he looked down at his arms, he gasped. Small clusters of barnacles had formed on his skin. They glowed with a soft blue light pulsing in time with his heartbeat. "He is awake," said a voice in his mind. Junho turned his head. Through the clear walls of the tank, he saw Empress Yuna. Her massive body was coiled around the tank, her eyes watching him closely. "What happened?" Hunyo tried to speak, but no sound came out. Instead, his thoughts formed words that traveled to the Empress. "Minho tried to kill me," Yuna explained. "You saved my life by jumping in front of his weapon." "But you were dying. The radiation was destroying your cells." "The barnacles?" Hunyo looked again at the small clusters on his arms. "It was the only way to save you. When you fell, one of my barnacles jumped to your body. It was trying to protect you. We placed you in this healing tank and the barnacle began to multiply. They are healing you, changing you. Junho should have been afraid. No human had ever been given barnacles before. But he felt calm, almost peaceful. The barnacles didn't feel like invaders. They felt like they belonged on his skin. Am I still human? He asked. Yes, said another voice. A draconian doctor named Jiho moved into view. But you are also something new. The barnacles have changed some of your DNA. You are stronger now. You will live longer. And you can speak with your mind as we do. Junho tried to sit up. The liquid in the tank moved with him, supporting his body. Minho and the rebels? He asked. Captured, Yuna said. Her mental voice carried a mix of sadness and anger. They will be judged by our council. But their ideas have spread. Many young draconians think we should take Earth's sun by force. We need to stop them, Junho said. We need to find a peaceful solution. Yes, Yuna agreed. But first you must heal. The barnacles need time to fully bond with your body. For 3 days, Junho stayed in the healing tank. The barnacles continued to spread across his skin, but not in a random way. They formed beautiful patterns like constellations of stars. Each cluster seemed to have a purpose. Some helped his body heal. Others let him speak with his mind. A few even allowed him to sense the emotions of draconians nearby. On the 4th day, Junho was strong enough to leave the tank. 2 draconian attendants helped him out and gave him new clothes. A silver suit that fit over his barnacle-covered skin. The Empress wishes to see you, one attendant said. They led Junho through the crystal corridors of the ship. Other draconians stopped to stare at him. Some looked curious. Others seemed afraid. A human with barnacles was something no one had ever seen before. The throne room was vast, with a ceiling that seemed to open directly into space. Stars shone overhead, their light reflecting off the crystal walls. Empress Yuna was coiled on a raised platform, her barnacles glowing brightly. Junho, she said as he entered. How do you feel? Different, he admitted. But good, strong. The barnacles have accepted you completely. This has never happened before with a non-draconian. Junho walked closer to the Empress. With his new senses, he could feel her emotions. Worry, hope, and something deeper, something like affection. Why did they accept me? He asked. Perhaps because you accepted them first, Yuna said. You saw beauty where others saw only ugliness. A group of draconian officials entered the throne room. Junho recognized some of them from his earlier meetings. They looked at him with new eyes now, seeing not just a human but something between human and draconian. The council is ready to hear your plan, Yuna told Junho. My plan? Yes. Through our barnacle connection, I can sense that you have been thinking of a solution to our problem. A way for draconians to use Earth's sun without taking it by force. Junho nodded. It was true. While healing in the tank, his mind had been working on the problem. The barnacles had somehow helped him think in new ways, seeing patterns he might have missed before. Earth's sun produces many types of radiation, Junho explained to the council. Humans only use a small part of it. The rest either passes through Earth's atmosphere or is blocked by it. He raised his hand, and to his surprise, the barnacles on his palm projected a holographic image of Earth's solar system. We could build a special shield, he continued, showing the design in his hologram. It would orbit between Earth and the sun. The shield would let through all the light humans need, but it would capture the specific radiation draconians need for their barnacles. A solar filter, one council member said. Understanding, yes. The shield would collect energy for draconian ships and colonies. Humans would barely notice the difference. Their plants would still grow. Their days would still be bright. But draconians could live in the same system, using the parts of sunlight that humans don't need. The council members looked at each other, their barnacles flashing as they shared thoughts. It could work, said an older draconian named Hyuk. But would humans agree to it? They fear us. They fear what they don't understand, Junho said. We need to help them understand. He looked down at his barnacle-covered arms. I can help with that. I'm living proof that humans and draconians can exist together. Empress Yuna moved closer to Junho, her massive head coming down to his level. You would return to Earth? She asked. Even looking as you do now? Yes, Junho said firmly. I'll speak to the Earth Council. I'll show them that your people aren't a threat, that we can help each other. They may reject you, Yuna warned. They may see you as a monster now. Then they would be wrong, Junho said. Just as they were wrong about you. The Empress's barnacles glowed with pride and gratitude. Through their connection, Junho could feel how much his words meant to her. "There's something else you should know," Yuna said privately to Junho, her thoughts reaching only his mind. "The Barnacles do more than just help us use solar energy. They connect all Draconians in a network of shared consciousness, and now you are part of that network too." Junho closed his eyes and focused. He could feel it. Thousands of minds linked together, sharing thoughts and feelings across vast distances. It was overwhelming but beautiful. "This is why the young ones fear the Barnacles," Yuna explained. "They think this connection makes us weak, that it forces us to care about others instead of just ourselves. They want to be separate, independent." "But that connection is your strength," Junho said. "It's what makes your civilization possible." "Yes. And now you understand why we cannot simply take Earth's sun by force. Such an act would cause pain to millions of humans. Through the Barnacle network, we would feel that pain as our own. We seek harmony, not conquest." Junho opened his eyes with new determination. "I'll make Earth understand. I'll show them what I've seen." The council agreed to Junho's plan. A small ship would take him back to Earth to speak with the Earth Council. He would propose the Solar Shield and a new alliance between humans and Draconians. As Junho prepared to leave, Empress Yuna came to see him off. In private, away from the other council members, she coiled her massive body around him in what he realized was the Draconian version of an embrace. "You have changed everything," she told him. "For thousands of years we thought we were alone in seeing beauty in our Barnacles. Now we know there can be understanding between different kinds of beings." "I'll come back," Junho promised. "Whatever happens on Earth, I'll return to you." The Empress's Barnacles glowed brightly. Through their connection, Junho felt her emotions: hope, fear, and something deeper that needed no words in any language. As his ship pulled away from the Draconian fleet, Junho looked down at the Barnacles on his skin. They pulsed with light, keeping him connected to Yuna even as the distance between them grew. He was no longer just human. He was no longer just a diplomat. He was a bridge between two worlds that had never understood each other before, and he was no longer alone. Junho's small ship approached Earth after a week of travel. Through the window, he could see the blue planet growing larger. It looked the same as when he had left, but Junho knew he was not the same. He looked at his reflection in the ship's metal wall. Barnacles covered his arms and chest in beautiful patterns. They glowed softly in the dim light of the ship. When he focused, he could still feel Empress Yuna's presence in his mind, even across the vast distance of space. "Approaching Earth Orbital Station," said the ship's computer. "Prepare for docking." Junho put on the special clothes the Draconians had made for him. The silver material covered most of his barnacles, but some still showed on his hands and neck. He couldn't hide what he had become, and he didn't want to. The ship docked with a soft bump. Junho took a deep breath and walked to the airlock. The door opened with a hiss. 5 armed guards waited for him on the other side. "Junho Kim?" asked one guard, her weapon pointed at his chest. "Yes," Junho said calmly. "You are to come with us immediately. Earth Defense Command wants to speak with you." Junho had expected this. News of a human returning from the Draconian fleet with barnacles on his skin would have spread quickly. He held up his hands to show he was not a threat. "I'm here to help," he said. "I have a message from Empress Yuna for the Earth Council." The guards led him through the station to a small room with no windows. They told him to wait. Hours passed. Junho sat quietly, using the time to practice controlling his barnacles. He found that he could make them glow brighter or dimmer with his thoughts. He could even use them to sense the emotions of the guards outside his door. They were afraid of him. Finally, the door opened. A woman in a formal uniform entered. Her name tag read Director Park. "Mr. Kim," she said, staying near the door. "Or should I even call you that anymore? Our scans show significant changes to your DNA." "I'm still Junho Kim," he said. "I'm still human, just changed." "Those things on your skin," Director Park said with disgust. "They're Draconian barnacles." "How did this happen?" Junho told her the truth. About saving the Empress, about being injured, about the barnacles saving his life. As he spoke, he noticed Director Park's expression changing from disgust to curiosity. "So these barnacles," she said when he finished. "They let you communicate with the Draconians mentally?" "Yes, and they help me in other ways too. I'm stronger now. I can sense emotions. I can even survive in space for short periods without a suit." Director Park took notes on her tablet. And you say you have a proposal from the Empress? Something about sharing our sun? Yes, I need to speak to the full Earth Council. It's important for both our species. Director Park studied him for a long moment. The Council is afraid of you, Mr. Kim. You look like one of them now. I'm a bridge between our worlds, Junho said. That's a good thing, not something to fear. After more questions, Director Park left. Junho waited another day in the small room. He used the time to reach out through the Barnacle network, connecting briefly with Empress Yuna to let her know he had arrived safely on Earth. On the morning of the third day, guards came to take Junho to a shuttle. They flew down to Earth, landing in New Seoul where the Earth Council had its headquarters. Junho looked out the window at the city where he had lived his whole life. It looked both familiar and strange now, seen through his new eyes. The Earth Council chamber was a large room with seats for 50 council members. They sat in a half-circle, looking down at Junho, who stood in the center. Screens on the walls showed his image, zooming in on the barnacles that peeked out from his collar and cuffs. Junho Kim, said the head counselor, an older man named Taewon. You have been changed by the Draconians. How do we know you still speak for humanity and not for them? I speak for both, Junho said honestly. That's why I'm here. To help our worlds understand each other. He told them about the Draconians' problem, their dying home star, the changing radiation that threatened their barnacles. He explained how the barnacles were not just decorations but essential parts of Draconian biology and technology. They need a new home star, Junho said. Our sun has the perfect radiation signature for their barnacles to thrive. The council members shifted uncomfortably. So they want to take our sun? One asked angrily. No, Junho said firmly. They want to share it. I have a plan that would work for both species. He raised his hand and the barnacles on his palm projected a holographic image of the solar system. The council members gasped at this display of draconian technology. This is my proposal, Junho said. A solar filter in orbit between Earth and the Sun. It would let through all the light humans need, but capture the specific radiation draconians need for their barnacles. He showed how the shield would work, how it would be nearly invisible from Earth, how it would not affect Earth's climate or plant growth. Humans would barely notice it's there, Junho explained, but it would provide enough energy for the entire draconian fleet and any colonies they build in our outer solar system. And why should we help these creatures? Asked a counselor from Africa. What do we get in return? Junho smiled. This was the question he had been waiting for. Draconian technology, he said. They are thousands of years ahead of us in many areas. Space travel, medicine, energy production. He used his barnacles to project images of draconian ships that could travel faster than light, of medical pods that could heal almost any injury, of power sources that could run for centuries without fuel. They will share all of this with us, Junho said, in return for sharing our sun, something that costs us nothing to share. The council talked among themselves. Some seemed interested, others still looked afraid. These barnacles, said a counselor from Europe, pointing at Junho's hands. They changed you. How do we know they won't try to change all of us? The barnacles only attached to me because I was dying, Junho explained. They were trying to save me. Draconians don't force barnacles on anyone, not even on their own people. Some young Draconians choose to have fewer barnacles or none at all. And these young ones, said head counselor Taewon. The Empress told you they want to take our sun by force? Some do, Junho admitted. That's why this agreement is so important. If we reject the Empress's peaceful offer, the young rebels might gain more support. They might try to take what they need instead of asking for it. So it's a threat, said another counselor angrily. No, Junho said. It's the truth. There are those who want peace and those who want war. In both our species. We need to support the peaceful ones. The debate continued for hours. Junho answered hundreds of questions about the Draconians, about the barnacles, about the solar shield. Some council members were convinced. Others remained suspicious. Finally, head counselor Taewon raised his hand for silence. We need time to consider this proposal, he said. The full council will vote in 1 week. Until then, Junho Kim, you will remain under guard in a secure facility. Junho nodded. It was better than he had expected. At least they were considering the idea. As guards led him from the chamber, a young counselor from Asia approached him. Those patterns, she said, looking at the barnacles on his hand. "They're actually quite beautiful up close," Junho smiled. "Yes, they are. And they're even more beautiful when you understand what they do. How they connect the Draconians to each other. How they let them share thoughts and feelings across vast distances. Like a living internet," the counselor said thoughtfully. "Exactly. But more personal, more direct." The counselor touched one of the barnacles gently. "Do they hurt?" "No," Junho said. "They feel like they belong there. Like they've always been part of me." For the first time since returning to Earth, Junho felt hopeful. If one counselor could see beauty in his barnacles, perhaps others could too. Perhaps humans and Draconians could find a way to live together after all. That night, in his secure room, Junho reached out through the barnacle network to connect with Empress Yuna. "They are considering our proposal," he told her. "Some are afraid, but others are curious. There is hope." "Good," came her reply, her thoughts warm in his mind. "The council here is also divided. Minho and his rebels have supporters. We must succeed, Junho. The future of both our peoples depends on it." Junho looked out his window at the night sky. Somewhere up there, beyond the stars he could see, Empress Yuna was looking back toward Earth. Their minds were connected across that vast distance by the tiny, glowing barnacles that so many feared. "We will succeed," Junho promised. "I won't stop until we do." For 6 days, Junho waited in his secure room. Guards brought him food and water, but no one would tell him how the council discussions were going. He spent his time practicing with his barnacles, learning to use their abilities better. He could now project clearer images, sense emotions from farther away, and even move small objects with the energy fields the barnacles could create. Each night, he connected with Empress Yuna through the barnacle network. Their mental conversations gave him strength and hope. "The young rebels grow more restless," Yuna told him on the 6th night. "Minho has escaped from his prison cell. He is gathering supporters among the fleet." "How much time do we have?" Hunyo asked. "Not much. Our home star's radiation continues to change. Some Draconians are already losing their barnacles. They are in pain." Junho felt her worry as if it were his own. "The council votes tomorrow. I've done all I can to convince them." "I know." Yuna's thoughts were warm with affection. "Whatever happens, you have changed things between our peoples forever." On the morning of the 7th day, guards came to take Junho back to the council chamber. As they walked through the building, Junho noticed people stopping to stare at him. Some looked afraid. Others seemed curious. A few even smiled at him. The council chamber was packed. All 50 council members were present, along with many advisors and officials. Screens around the room showed Junho's image, focusing on his face and the barnacles that now covered much of his visible skin. Head Counselor Taewon called for silence. "Junho Kim," he said formally, "the Earth Council has considered your proposal for a solar filter and an alliance with the Draconian Collective. Before we announce our decision, do you have anything more to say?" Junho stepped forward. He had prepared for this moment, thinking carefully about what words might help the council understand. "When I first saw Empress Yuna," he began, "I didn't see a monster covered in barnacles. I saw a beautiful, intelligent being whose appearance was different from mine. That's all." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of different council members. "Fear of differences is the greatest threat to both our species. Some young Draconians fear becoming too connected to others through their barnacles. Some humans fear beings who look different from themselves. But these fears can be overcome." Junho held up his hands, letting his barnacles glow brightly. "I stand before you as living proof that humans and Draconians can exist together. These barnacles saved my life. They've shown me a new way of seeing the universe. They've connected me to a civilization thousands of years older than our own, a civilization that wants to share its knowledge with us." He projected a holographic image of the solar filter. "Design. This filter would cost us nothing. Earth would still receive all the sunlight it needs, but it would save an entire species from extinction. And in return, we would gain technologies that could solve our energy crisis, cure diseases, and take us to the stars." Junho lowered his hands and spoke his final words. "The choice is simple. Fear or hope. Conflict or cooperation. A future alone or a future together with new friends among the stars." The chamber was silent when he finished. Then Head Counselor Taewon stood. "The council has voted," he announced. "By a margin of 28 to 22, We have decided to reject the draconian proposal. Junho felt like he had been punched in the stomach. After all his efforts, they had said no. The risks are too great, Taewon continued. We cannot allow an alien species to build structures around our sun. We cannot trust creatures so different from ourselves. Junho opened his mouth to protest. But Taewon held up his hand. However, the head counselor said, we are willing to offer the Draconians a different solution. Earth will provide specialized radiation equipment that can be installed on Draconian ships and colonies. This equipment would create the specific radiation their barnacles need, without requiring access to our sun. It wasn't what Junho had hoped for, but it was something. The equipment Taewon described would help individual Draconians, but it wouldn't be enough to support their entire civilization. Before Junho could respond, alarms began to sound throughout the building. Red lights flashed on the walls. A security officer rushed into the chamber. Multiple unknown ships have entered Earth's atmosphere, the officer reported. They appear to be Draconian vessels, but not from the Empress's fleet. Junho's heart sank. He reached out through the barnacle network and felt it immediately. Anger, determination, the burning desire for action. Minho and his rebels had come to Earth. They're not here on the Empress's orders, Junho told the council. These are rebels who want to take the sun by force. Screens around the room showed images from outside. 5 Draconian ships, smaller than the Empress's flagship but still massive compared to Earth vessels, hovered over New Seoul. Their hulls were dark, with few barnacle lights visible, the ships of young Draconians who rejected the old ways. This is why we should never have trusted them, shouted one counselor. No, Junho said firmly. This is happening because you rejected a peaceful solution. The Empress warned me this might happen. A new image appeared on the screens. A Draconian face younger than Yuna with only a few barnacle clusters. It was Minho. People of Earth. Minho's voice boomed through the speakers. Your council has rejected our Empress's generous offer. Now you will deal with those who do not ask nicely. Minho explained his demands. The rebels would use force to install their own solar collectors around Earth's sun. Any human resistance would be met with destruction. You have 1 Earth day to surrender control of your orbital space, Minho concluded. Or we will take it. The transmission ended. The council chamber erupted in panic. We must launch our defense fleet, shouted one counselor. Our weapons can't match theirs, argued another. We should negotiate, suggested a third. Junho closed his eyes and reached out through the barnacle network with all his strength. Yuna! Minho is here with rebel ships. They're threatening Earth. Her response came immediately, filled with anger and determination. We are already on our way. My fleet will reach Earth in 6 hours. Try to prevent conflict until then. Junho opened his eyes and addressed the council. Empress Yuna and her fleet are coming to help us. They'll be here in 6 hours. We need to stall Minho until then. Head Counselor Taewon looked skeptical. Why would the Empress help us after we rejected her proposal? Because she wants peace, Junho explained. And because Minho is a threat to her authority as well as to Earth. This is her chance to show you that most Draconians are not like these rebels. After heated debate, the council agreed to Junho's plan. They would open communication channels with Minho, pretending to consider his demands while actually stalling for time. Junho was taken to the Earth Defense Command Center, a secure facility deep underground. From there, he helped officials craft messages to Minho that would keep him talking without actually agreeing to anything. Hours passed. Minho grew increasingly impatient. His ships moved lower over the city, causing panic among the population. Earth defense forces were mobilized but ordered not to attack unless fired upon first. 5 hours after Minho's arrival, Junho felt a familiar presence through the barnacle network. Empress Yuna was close. She's almost here, he told the defense officials. Just 1 more hour, but they were out of time. On the screens, they watched as Minho's ships began firing energy beams at Earth defense installations around the city. Buildings crumbled. People ran screaming through the streets. We have to fight back, shouted the defense commander. No, Junho said. That's what Minho wants. If Earth attacks, he can claim self-defense. Just wait a little longer, the commander reluctantly agreed. For 30 more minutes, they watched as Minho's ships destroyed unmanned defense posts while carefully avoiding civilian areas. It was a show of force, not a full attack. Then suddenly the sky above New Seoul lit up with a brilliant flash of light. A massive ship appeared, the Empress's flagship, its crystal hull gleaming in the sunlight. Millions of barnacles pulsing with blue and purple light. 4 more ships appeared behind it, surrounding Minho's rebel vessels. They were larger, more powerful, their barnacle lights forming complex patterns that Junho knew were weapon systems powering up. On all screens across Earth, Empress Yuna's image appeared. Her massive dragon head filled the frame, barnacles glowing with controlled anger. "Minho," she said, her voice echoing across the planet. "You have violated our most sacred laws. You have threatened a peaceful species. You have brought shame to all Draconians." Minho's ships tried to flee, but energy fields from the Empress's fleet held them in place. "People of Earth," Yuna continued, "I apologize for the actions of these rebels. They do not represent the Draconian collective. I have come to take them home for judgment." In the defense center, officials looked at Junho with new respect. "She came," said the commander, "just like you said she would." Junho nodded, his barnacles glowing with pride and relief. "Empress Yuna keeps her promises. Now perhaps the council will reconsider her offer." Outside, the Empress's ships were capturing the rebel vessels one by one. Earth was safe, saved not by its own weapons but by the very aliens its council had rejected. The battle for Earth's future was over, but the battle for understanding between humans and Draconians was just beginning. 3 days after the battle over New Sol, the Earth Council called an emergency meeting. This time they met in a larger room with a special guest. Empress Yuna herself had come down to Earth. The room had been specially prepared for her massive size. One wall had been removed to create an opening large enough for her dragon form to enter. She coiled her long body around the edge of the room, her millions of barnacles glowing softly in the dim light. Junho stood beside her, feeling proud and nervous at the same time. This was the first time a Draconian Empress had ever visited Earth. It was a historic moment. Head Counselor Taewon opened the meeting with a formal speech. "Empress Yuna of the Draconian Collective," he said, bowing deeply. "Earth thanks you for your help against the rebel ships. You saved many lives." "I did what was right," Yuna replied. Her mental voice projected so all could hear it. "Minho and his rebels broke our laws. They will face justice when we return home." "And what about our previous decision?" Taewon asked carefully. "Our rejection of your proposal?" Yuna's massive head moved closer to the council table. Her eyes, each as big as a human head, blinked slowly. "That is why I am here," she said, "to show you that Draconians come in peace. To show you that we are not monsters despite our appearance." Junho stepped forward. "The council has a chance to reconsider," he said. "The Empress still offers friendship and technology in exchange for sharing our sun's radiation." The council members looked at each other. Many seemed uncomfortable being so close to the barnacle-covered dragon, but others looked curious, even interested. "Perhaps," said Taewon, "we were too hasty in our decision. Recent events have shown us that the Empress is honorable, and the technology you offered could help Earth greatly." "I have brought something to show you," Yuna said. With a gentle movement of her tail, she pushed forward a small crystal container. Inside was a single barnacle glowing with blue light. "This is a special barnacle," she explained. "It contains the complete knowledge of Draconian medicine, cures for diseases that still plague humans, ways to extend life, methods to heal injuries that are now fatal." The council members leaned forward to look at the tiny creature. "Just this one barnacle," Yuna continued, "could save millions of human lives, and it is only a small part of what we offer in friendship." A counselor from South America spoke up. "But the solar filter, are you sure it won't harm our planet?" "I can prove it won't," Junho said. He raised his hand and the barnacles on his palm projected a detailed hologram. It showed Earth's sun, the proposed filter, and Earth itself. Data scrolled alongside the image, showing that all essential light and heat would still reach Earth. The filter would be transparent to the wavelengths humans need, Junho explained. It would only capture radiation that passes through Earth's atmosphere anyway, radiation your bodies can't use. For hours, the council asked questions. Yuna and Junho answered patiently, explaining Draconian technology, the barnacle symbiosis, and the details of the solar filter. Slowly, the council members' fears seemed to fade, replaced by curiosity and interest. Finally, Taewon called for a new vote. By a margin of 42-8, he announced, The Earth Council approves the draconian proposal for a solar filter and technology exchange. Junho felt a wave of joy and relief wash over him. He looked at Yuna and saw her barnacles pulsing with bright colors that showed her happiness. "Thank you," the Empress said to the Council. "This decision will benefit both our peoples for generations to come." The next few months were busy ones. Draconian engineers arrived to begin building the solar filter. It would take a year to complete, but even in its early stages it began collecting the radiation the Draconians needed so desperately. Junho worked as the main link between humans and Draconians. His unique position, part human, part Draconian, made him perfect for the job. He helped translate technical terms, explained cultural differences, and smoothed over misunderstandings. True to her word, Empress Yuna shared Draconian technology with Earth. Medical barnacles were adapted to work in human hospitals, curing diseases that had once been deadly. Energy systems powered by barnacle clusters replaced polluting power plants. New ships were built using Draconian designs, allowing humans to travel to Mars in days instead of months. 6 months after the agreement, Junho visited a special project outside New Sol. It was a Draconian colony being built on Earth, the first of its kind. The buildings were made of the same crystal material as their ships, designed to house both Draconians and humans who wanted to live and work together. As Junho walked through the half-finished colony, he saw something that made him smile. A group of human children were playing with a young Draconian, a small dragon about the size of a horse. The children weren't afraid of the Draconians' barnacles. One little girl was even touching them gently, laughing as they glowed in response. "They don't see differences the way adults do," said a voice behind him. Junho turned to see Empress Yuna. She had come to inspect the colony's progress. "Children see with open eyes," Junho agreed. "They haven't learned fear yet." They watched the children play for a while. The young Draconian was careful with its larger body, moving slowly around the human children. "Minho and the other rebels have been judged," Yuna told Junho. "They will spend many years in isolation, thinking about their actions. But I've ordered that they receive treatment for their barnacles. Even those who rejected our ways deserve compassion." Junho nodded. It was the kind of decision that made him proud to serve the Empress. "And what about you?" Yuna asked, her mental voice gentle in his mind. "Are you happy with your new life? Do you ever regret the changes?" Junho looked down at his arms, now completely covered in barnacle patterns. The barnacles had continued to spread over the past months, covering most of his body. But they didn't feel foreign anymore. They felt like part of him. "I don't regret anything," he said honestly. "I've seen and experienced things no human ever has before. I've helped bring 2 species together in peace." "How could I regret that?" Yuna's massive head moved closer to him, her eyes studying his face. "You gave up much for us. Your old life, your human appearance, even some of your human DNA. And I gained more than I lost," Junho said. "I gained a connection to your people. I gained new abilities. I gained a purpose." Through their barnacle connection, he felt Yuna's happiness and pride. She considered him not just an ally, but a friend. Perhaps even something more. Something there wasn't a word for in either human or Draconian language. 1 year after the agreement, the solar filter was complete. It orbited between Earth and the Sun, a massive structure of crystal and metal that was almost invisible from Earth's surface. Just as Junho had promised, it didn't change the sunlight that reached Earth in any noticeable way. But it collected the special radiation that Draconian barnacles needed to survive. With this steady supply of energy, Draconian ships no longer needed to return to their dying home star. More and more of them came to Earth's solar system, building colonies on Mars, Venus, and in the asteroid belt. Each new ship brought more technology, more knowledge to share with humans. On the anniversary of the agreement, a special ceremony was held in orbit. A space station had been built at the edge of Earth's atmosphere, large enough to hold both humans and Draconians. It was called Bridge Station, a name Junho had suggested. In the main hall of the station, Empress Yuna and Head Counselor Taewon signed a formal treaty of friendship between their peoples. Junho stood between them, translating when needed, his barnacles glowing with pride. After the ceremony, Junho stood at a window looking down at Earth. From space, you couldn't see borders between countries or differences between peoples. It was just one beautiful blue planet, Empress Una joined him at the window, her massive form reflected in the glass. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "I'm thinking about the first time I saw your picture," Junho said. "When everyone else saw something frightening, I saw something beautiful. I never imagined where that moment would lead." "To a new future for both our peoples," Una said. Her barnacles glowed with warm colors that matched the sunrise now visible over Earth's curve. "Yes," Junho agreed. "A future where differences aren't feared, but celebrated." He placed his hand against the window, his barnacles glowing in patterns that matched Una's. Human and draconian, so different in form but now connected in purpose. Outside the window, Earth turned slowly below them. And beyond it, the solar filter captured the sun's energy, transforming it into life for the draconians while letting all that humans needed pass through unchanged. It was a perfect symbol of their new relationship, taking nothing from each other, but sharing what each had in abundance. A relationship that had begun when one human saw beauty where others saw only barnacles,